Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar. My name is Anand. What we'll be talking about today is how you can create infographics from data. We have the attendees joining in, and we'll be diving into the main session in approximately 2 minutes. But before that, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. I'm one of the co-founders of Grandom. I'm currently in Chennai, though normally I would be in Bangalore. It's given the lockdown that I'm out here in Chennai with my extended family. Most of my day goes into building our platform, Gramix, and what I'm going to be helping you do today is actually a part of that platform. But most of my night goes into playing Minecraft, which is what I've been doing somewhat excessively over the last week in particular, thanks to the release of a newer version of Minecraft. That's not quite what we're going to be talking about. That is, Minecraft is in fact the topics of one of my next webinars. But today we're really going to be focusing on infographics and specifically how infographics can be created from data. It's a topic that I've been interested in since I was a kid. And what I'll do is take one specific aspect of infographics, what are called data portraits, and show you how you can build these with data. I'm going to share my screen. Now, I must say that this is an interactive session, at least the second half is, where you will be building the infographic from data. So I wanted to make sure that you are able to interact with me. There is a questions section. And as our webinar goes along, I'll be asking you to put in questions in the questions section and make sure that you're able to follow along. But for now, let me share my screen. And in a few seconds, you should be able to see a page that's titled How to Draw Your Own Selfie. This is based on a talk given by Georgia Lupi. And it's an interesting concept. The idea is that you can draw a portrait, a virtual art that is based on information about yourself. So it's sort of like a self-portrait, but based on data. And the way you do it is you start with how old you are and draw as many dots as you are old. And then you ask where you're from. And based on where you were born and where you live, you draw a line based on the appropriate color from the continent. So in my case, I was born and I live in Asia. So I'll have two gray lines. Do we see the glass as half full? Draw an inclined arrow, or half empty? Draw a declining arrow. Are you a night owl, or are you a morning person, or both? Are you the kind of okay, when do you typically wake up? What time of day? That's in yellow lines, so that's 7 lines for 7 a.m. And when do you go to bed? 12 lines for midnight. Do you sing in the shower? Blue for yes, pink for no. Are you a dog person? Are you a cat person? How many pets do you have? And you have 1 dot for each pet, and it goes on. Do you use an iPhone or an Android phone? Do you keep your phone close to you? Do you keep your phone far away from you? Do you use a pencil or do you use a pen? Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Do you spend weekends relaxing or being adventurous? How many friends do you take on a vacation? And if you had money, would you save it, spend it, or give it away? Now, that's almost like a dozen questions. Once you put them all together, we get a portrait like this. And this is something that we could just draw. What we're going to do today is look at how we could draw something like this programmatically from data. So how exactly are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to share with you a link. This link is what we're going to use for the bulk of this session. In case you want to type it out, it's at data-portrait.glitch.me. I'm going to put that in the chat window. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to copy it from the chat window or even click on it from the chat window, but at least you'll be able to type it from the chat window. What I'm also going to do is open PowerPoint and put it in a slightly larger font so you'll be able to see the link. It's data-portrait.glitch me. So what I'd like all of you to do is open this page and just keep it there. I'm glad that somebody mentioned that you are able to click. So that's Dhanik. Thank you, Dhanik, for mentioning in the question section that you are able to click. Anyone who's facing any issues opening this, please let me know and I'll sort it out. But do open this. And what you should see is what I have on my screen right now. So I'm going to fill this for myself. I invite you to fill it up for yourself. Age. So I'm over 45, not yet over 60. And that fills in a certain number of dots, roughly. So if I filled in 0 to 29, it fills in only a few dots, and then more dots, and then more dots, roughly 1 dot for every 3 years. Which continent was I born in? Not in Africa. I was born in Asia. The continent that I'm living in is Asia. So if I were in a different region, it would be colored differently. And is my glass half full or half empty? Minus. Half full. I am a morning person, not a night owl, and certainly not both. And as for bathroom singer, no, I'm not a bathroom singer. Dogs or cats? In my case, cats, though it looks like I have the symbols interchanged. We'll have to resolve that, but let's go with this. How many pets so far? Actually, there was a time when we had 14 cats in our house at the same time. So yeah, very much 10 plus, but some of you may have none or just a few. I use an iPhone, not an Android. And my phone is not in bed, not within arm's reach. It's in the same room, but far away from me. That way I have to get up to switch off the alarm. Do I use a pencil? No, I prefer a pen. Am I an introvert or an extrovert? Every survey that I've taken on psychological profile keeps toggling between these, but I believe I'm an introvert. How many friends would I take on a vacation? Yeah, take 1 to 3 friends. And if I found $100, I would, yeah, just keep it. I'm not going to spend it or give it away. I'll just save. So what you see on the right is my data profile. And what we just did was pull together this data and push it into this infographic. And this is something that I put together this morning. I don't, there unfortunately isn't, are you a procrastinator or someone who does the work early kind of a person? But if there was a slider on it, I'm at the extreme edge of procrastinator. And the only reason I got this work done was because the webinar was tonight, and I finished this literally just before the webinar. But the thing is, it's actually not too difficult to put something like this together. And in fact, you don't even need much by way of programming. A little bit, yes. So what we are going to do in this session is have you create something like this. For the next, say 10, maybe 15 minutes, I'm going to talk you through how this was built. And then we have a small exercise that you can try out. Let's start with this. Now, how does one go about building, creating an infographic? Well, one possibility is hire a designer and or just reach out to someone you know who's a designer and ask them for their help and have them create it. And they would have their set of tools, often Illustrator, Adobe's Illustrator software, which is pretty good at creating images and infographics like these. Now that requires 2 skills basically, right? One, knowing the tool. The second is having the imagination. I don't have either. So I cheat. The first rule of thumb that I've learned is when you need imagination, steal it. Others have done enough interesting stuff. Just copy it. This data portrait is not something that I created. I could have reached out to someone on our team and have them create it. Instead, what I decided to do was simply search on the internet for data portraits, see if I could find a good one, and literally stole from Giorgia Lupi. This looks like a great thing that I could use. So you don't necessarily need to know a designer or know design to design. You can steal, and it's a noble, you know, it's a noble thing in my opinion. Second is tooling. Well, I just use PowerPoint. And you'd be surprised how easy this was to create. So let me in fact show you how to do that. And the way I'm going to do that is by actually, so what I did here was copy pasted this, no, not this one. Yeah, this image, literally. Took this. So in fact, now I'm in fact going to do that from scratch right now. Let's copy this and we'll put it on a brand new presentation. And rotate it a bit so that it's kind of horizontal. Yeah. And then I start tracing over it. So we want the outer rectangle. Great. So we'll draw the outer rectangle. That's pretty easy to trace, right? And you can see that it's not exactly perfectly aligned. That's good enough. In fact, perfection is bad. And we don't really want this to have straight edges. So first, let's get rid of the fill in the shape. And it's possible in PowerPoint itself to have a shape outline that's firstly thicker. So now the lines are looking a little better, right? You kind of see that out here, this line and the actual line in the image and the actual line in PowerPoint, they're of the same thickness, give or take. But the color is certainly off. So let's pick something closer to the right color. The good part is I don't even have to figure out what the right color is. There is an eyedropper. So I would use the eyedropper and pick the exact same shade of black. I'm a little bit colorblind, as most men are, I think. So I don't even bother trying to figure out what the colors are. But the really cool thing in some of the newer versions of PowerPoint is the sketched lines, which actually gives you these curved edges. So if I get rid of the image for a while, you'll notice that this is not too bad. This looks like a hand-drawn line. We can start sketching some of the other shapes as well. So let's say this triangle, that's fairly straightforward. One of the really powerful tools out here is, where's that go? Yeah. This shape, which is called freeform shape, lets you create pretty much any polygon. So I could just draw a point here and a point here, a point here, and close it. So that completes that polygon. And I could just fill it with the appropriate shade of red. Maybe it's this one, and get rid of the outline. And I could also put in a sketch around it. So to make it look kind of like a shaky line. And if we continue along this process, not just for the polygons, but even for these lines, which can be made like wavy lines and so on, what you end up with, and in fact, what I ended up with was with roughly about 45 minutes of careful tracing, this shape. So what, oh, this one? There's something missing here. Yeah, okay. No, not this one. Okay, I think I'm missing a polygon, but yeah, something like this. Now, this has all of the shapes that are required for Georgia Loopy's presentation. So this is introvert, this is extrovert. This is a person whose glass is half full. This is a person whose glass is half empty. We have a shape like this, which can either be in blue, if it's some shade of blue, if it's Android, or yellow, if it's an iPhone. And we have this shape, which let me show you how this works. What I did was traced over these lines, but then added a stroke to it. And the way the stroke works is if I just had a straight line, this is what it looks like, but I could kind of make it a dotted line or a dashed line or a variety of other things. And that helps me differentiate between, say, a pencil and a pen. Now, we've crossed two hurdles. One, where am I going to get a good design from? Short answer, copy from somebody. How am I going to create it? Trace it in PowerPoint. Then how am I going to get it onto the web? Well, the nice thing about the newer versions of PowerPoint is that you can select any set of shapes, right click, and save as picture. And one of those picture formats is an SVG format, scalable vector graphics. So let me save it in my temp directory as picture data portrait.svg. Now, if I open picture data portrait.svg, you'll firstly see that it opens in the browser and it looks exactly the way I had drawn it. But more importantly, let's look at what happens if I open it in a code editor. Format the document. Yeah. You'll notice that it has a series of paths, and each of these paths represents a shape. So if I inspect this one, for example, this is a path, and I can change its fill color to, let's say, red or blue, and so on. Now, the important thing about this is that it's possible to edit it outside of PowerPoint. And clearly, this is on the browser, and it's also possible to edit it on the browser. So which means that we have now made the next technical leap. What we create can now be exported simply as an SVG and imported on the web. How would we actually place this inside a web page? That's actually quite straightforward. So let me create a HTML file. Now at this point, I'm getting into a little bit of code. For those of you who are not familiar with code, best of luck. Those of you who are, but not necessarily with HTML, follow along. It's not too difficult. So in a HTML file, which is what I'm going to place as a web page, I'm going to say image source is equal to picture data portrait.svg. That's it. I just import it as a picture instead of as a PNG. And this will work absolutely fine. So if I go here and load index.html, that works. And I can start making changes to this page. Like, for example, I can add a heading, data portrait, and add this. Now you're probably beginning to get a sense of how I created this data portrait page. What you see here and here is kind of similar. But the only other thing that this page does is when I change one of these items, different things get displayed or not, they get hidden, and the colors change as required. So that brings us to the next step. The first thing that we did was use PowerPoint to generate the SVG. So the actual SVG that I used is on the same page, and that's what you just saw. And the actual presentation that I used is also linked from that page. So you'll find it when you click on the PowerPoint link. The second thing that I used is a library called UI Factory, which we released as open source a few weeks ago. And what UI Factory does is it's something that can create new HTML components. And one of those components is something that helps us map at SVG attributes using rules to data. What does that mean? Well, it means that I can take a data set like this, where it says age is 60 plus, continent is Europe, and so on. And it will map these items to specific data elements. So I'm going to give you a quick look at what this looks like by simply showing you well, I'm not going to show you the source. What I'm going to do is give you a sense of how this works. For that, I'm going to create a code pen. And this is an exercise that some of you will have to do. Hopefully, some of you have used CodePen, but some of you may not have. All you have to do is go into codepen.io and click on login, and you'd be able to sign up with Twitter or GitHub or Facebook or whatever, and you can create a pen. And in the last 15 minutes or maybe even 20 minutes of this workshop, you will be trying this out. I'm going to create a new pen. And what we do is import the libraries required for UI Factory. There are two libraries required for UI Factory, one called Lodash and another called UI Factory itself. And then we can pick what components we want to import. I'm going to do this a little fast in a way that doesn't really give you a sense of what I'm doing at a detailed level, but don't worry, I will be going into the details in a few minutes. So what the second line has done is imported UI Factory specifically a component along with it called SVG chart. Now, what this allows me to do is I can say SVG chart and put in any SVG element here, any SVG URL. Now, this particular SVG, let's just look at this, is what I'm going to load. Give it a few seconds. Yeah. So now my component has loaded the SVG that I want. Within this, I can start specifying a data set. For example, I can say my data is a JavaScript object, which has, let's say, a phone as Android. That in itself does nothing. It just defines some data. But then I can also start defining rules. And these rules allow me to do something a little more sophisticated. So I can define one of the rules, for example, as there is this element here. And that element, let's see what exactly. Let's reload this page. Each of these elements would have a class name. Let's take the phone element. Yeah. This element has a class named phone, which, yeah, I'm highlighting on my screen right now. What this means is that if I use the CSS selector dot phone, I can select this particular item. So I'm going to say now as a rule that the element called dot phone, I want to change its fill color. That like this, yeah. I want to change its fill color, and let's say I want to set it to red. I just want to hard code it. That reloads and set the phone's fill color to red. If I change that to blue, that reloads it and changes it to blue. Instead, if I want to set it based on the data, so let's say I want the data dot phone. If that's an Android, pick some colors. If that's Android, then I want it as blue. Otherwise, I want it in red. So given that this is Android, we should see it turning blue. But if I change the data to iPhone, in a few seconds, that turns red. So effectively what we are able to do is put in a set of rules, and these rules follow the standard syntax of JavaScript and HTML using HTML components. And by simply defining a set of rules, you can control how the image is modified. And by putting in the data, you can control how the image is modified from a user. Now, what we've done here in this example is defined a set of rules, and I'm going to show you what some of those rules look like. Yeah. Let's take, for example, the rule related to, let's take a simple rule. Yeah, let's take the phone rule. What we're saying is if the phone is an iPhone, use this color. If the phone's Android, use this color. Otherwise, show it as white. Let's take another example. Are we singing in the shower? So there is a shape called shower sing, and there's a shape called shower no sing. Now, shower sing, we set its visibility based on if the sing variable is yes, then make shower sing visible, otherwise keep it hidden. We do the exact opposite for shower no sing. That is, we take the sing attribute. If it is no, then we set it to visible, otherwise we set it to hidden. These are the kinds of rules that take a user input like this and allow you to create a data portrait. What we're going to do now is I want all of you to go onto this page, and there is a simple exercise that we've mentioned here. What you could do is just look at this image and try drawing this in PowerPoint. and I leave that to you as optional. But I'll certainly want you to now, all of you, to log in into CodePen by clicking on the link here and creating a pen. Now we have switched over to the interactive part of the session. So I'd like you to actually do this and put in the question section a few comments as you go along. So if all of you are able to log in into CodePen and then click on create a new pen, could you please put in the question section a question saying created? Just type in the word created if you are able to log in into CodePen and create a new pen. Post that, I will guide you. Of course, you have the instructions here and you can follow it by yourself. In case any of you have any issues, such as you may have joined a little later, in which case you may not have this link. It's at data-portrait.glitch.me. If you have any other issues, please let me know and I'll support you. You can just put that in the question section. So good to see that Rishabh, Hiroki, you guys have created a pen. For those of you who've done this, please just continue with the example. I'm going to wait till at least say a dozen of you are able to at least create a new pen. So thanks, Samarth, Shashank, Akash, Navneet, got your responses. You are able to create a pen at least so far. Bhuvan, you've logged in and created a pen. Great. Praneeth, you've created a pen. That's great. We have about 8 of you who've been able to create a pen. That's great. If you have any problems, please let me know. We can help. Kanwalpreet, got that you've created it. Praneeth, you've created it. Question from Akash, how are we setting the position? Just like any HTML component, Akash, you'd be setting the position inline, and you can use standard CSS properties and layout properties of HTML to further control the position. Anil, got that you were able to create it. Omkar, you've created a pen. Bhaskarjit, you've created a pen. Dushyant, you've created a pen. Is anyone having any issues creating a pen? Because I think we have about a dozen people who managed to create a pen. That's about a little over 20% of the audience. Okay, we have a response from Vinodini. You've created it. Raghu as well, Sanish and Danik. Okay, great. I'm going to continue. For anyone who's still following along, just follow along. Got you, Akash, and keep putting in created as soon as you've created a pen. The next step, so I'm going to create a pen as well. I've already logged in into CodePen, and I'm going to click on create a pen and create it. So that gives me a section that has HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We are only going to put in stuff in the HTML section, so you don't really need any of the CSS and JavaScript. You can resize it and just have the HTML part. The second step, fourth step, is to copy paste the code that's out here. And I'm going to explain what this code does, but just copy paste the code into the HTML part of the pen, not the CSS, not the JavaScript. When you do that, you will see a simple SVG image that I created in PowerPoint, and I encourage you to try it out as well. That pops up at the bottom. That is in the output section. Now, what I'm going to do is explain what this is doing, but in the meantime, I encourage all of you to copy paste this. The first line imports Lodash. That's a requirement. That's one of the dependent libraries. The second line imports UI Factory. That is the main library that does the mapping. Specifically, we are importing a component called SVG chart, which is what is really doing the bulk of the work. Now, the third line includes the SVG chart component, and it takes the source as a text that returns URL from this URL. This URL is where I happen to have saved the SVG that I created in PowerPoint. So it loads it from this location. And then it says, I'm going to give it the following data. Before I go to the data, let me explain what the purpose of this visualization is. What we're going to do is type in 2 simple statistics about our phone usage. Number 1, what phone do we use? iPhone or Android. Second, how many hours in a day do we use it? 0, 0.5, 1, 2, 3, etc. And we're going to set it up so that when we change the color of the phone, when we change the phone from iPhone to Android or vice versa, the color of the phone and the text of the phone changes. Second, when we change the number of hours, we will change the size of the bar and the text that represents the number of hours. These are the 4 changes that we're going to make. So coming back now to the data, I've filled in the following data points. The phone is an iPhone and the number of hours I use it is 2.3 hours on a given day on average. The next thing that we're going to do is fill in a set of rules, and these rules are going to make the changes in the design. So let's start by copy pasting the first rule. So inside rules.js, what we're now going to do is set the phone's color based on the phone itself. So this rule says that the element .phone should change its fill color based on whether the phone is an Android phone. If so, we'll make it pink. If not, we'll make it yellow. Feel free to pick your own colors. I'm going to copy this and paste this inside rules.js. When that happens, give it a few seconds and you should see the phone turning yellow. If your phone has turned yellow, please type in yellow in the question section. If you have any problems making it turn yellow, please let me know what problem you're facing. Got you, Rishabh. You were able to make it turn yellow. So that, okay, whole bunch of people. So either you're following along really fast or you got ahead of me. Hopefully it's the latter. Okay, that's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, whole bunch of you. So let's see. Yeah, Rishabh, Sanish, Bhuvan, Gurudev, Kanwal, Preet, Neil, Tanik, Bhaskarjit, Shambhu, Navni, Raghu, Dushyant, Ratul, Praneet, Omkar. Akash, you're saying that the color changed to blue. Oh, you changed the color to blue, but it's still yellow. Interesting. Okay, so let me do that. I'm going to change the color to blue and give it a few seconds. Okay, yeah. I changed the pink to blue. That's the color of the iPhone. If I change the yellow to blue, then hopefully that should change. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you made the same mistake that I did. Just let me know if it works if you change the yellow to blue. Vinodini, you got it. Ankur, Akhilesh, Bal Nagaraj, Akash. Okay, you got it, Akash. Perfect. Okay, so I think, well, great. Then I'll leave you to follow along for the rest of the steps, which is simple. Next one, now we're going to set the name of the phone. So phone name, text, colon, data.phone. What this is saying is take the element whose class is phone name and set its text to data.phone, which is Android or iPhone typically, or well, you may have something different. But we'll add that just below the earlier rule. So now we have 2 rules. So now my phone text says iPhone. Let's apply the third rule, hours. Based on the number of hours, the width of this bar should change. So for that, what we do is take an element called .hours. We set its width to the number of hours multiplied by 60. So that's basically saying that per minute, I have 1 pixel, and change the fill color to aqua, just so we give it some highlighting. Now you'll notice that if I start changing the number of hours to, let's say, from 2.3 to 2.6, okay, which is probably too small a change, it may not be very visible. Let's make it 5.6. Yeah, this bar is now much wider, but the text hasn't changed. So we're going to change the text. That's by an element called hours text, and we change the text to the number of hours. So when we add this change, everything that's there in the data will now get reflected properly in the output. So which means that if I change the phone from iPhone, okay, let's change the colors back from pink and yellow so that it's consistent with what you would have seen. So now if I make it an Android, and say put in 2 hours. That gives me a simple infographic, a data portrait of sorts that takes these elements and displays it here. Now, what's possible with this is what we're going to do next. But before that, I just wanted to check if you could all try changing the phone to Android and the number of hours from 2.3 to 5.5 or any other number. And if whether you're able to see both changes. If you're able to see both changes, please type yes in the question section. If any of you have any issues or are facing a bug in this, please let me know. Got you, Neil. Got you, Rishabh. And I have Gurudev, Bhuvan, Praneeth, Dhanik. Akash, you changed to Windows, but the text is not changed to Windows. Okay, that's interesting. Could you copy the link of your pen? You may need to save it. Once you save it, could you put in the link in the question section? It'll be good to see what's happening. Neil, I got that you have an issue. Again, if you could do the same, anyone who has an issue, please click on save. And when you click on save, you'll get a new link. You can share that link in the question section and I'll be able to take a look at it. And it's okay, apart from Neil and Akash, no one else has issues. Dushyant got that it changed. Bal Nagarajan got you. And Omkar, okay, I see that you could change the name to Windows, right? So if you're using a Windows phone, then you'll probably want to add a condition here, like data.phone is Windows, then make it yellow, otherwise I'd make it orange or something. And then if you change it to Windows, in this case, for Windows, it will make the phone yellow. And for anything else, it will make it orange. So that's basically how you try other variations. Got you, Nami. Shambhu, ours didn't change. I got your pen. Akash, I got your pen. For those of you who've shared your pens, we're going to go through that in just about 3-4 minutes. And again, I invite all of you, if you have any issues, please save your pen and put in the link to your pen in the question section. If you don't have any issue, please put in a yes, so I'll know you're done with the exercise. Now, what can we do with something like this? Let me give you a few examples. The first is mapping. You could take pretty much any map for pretty much any region. Let's take India for. We'll take the India state map. And ultimately, these are shapes in an SVG. And you can start linking this to data. This is a simple, classic use case. And what we need is an SVG map. That's pretty easy to find. So if I said India state map SVG, okay, there's map SVG, but more importantly, there's Wikimedia. And in Wikimedia, we'll find all of these. And each one of these is a map which is created as an SVG. So which means that you'll be able to download SVG maps directly from Wikimedia and start using something like this. A second use case is if, let's say, you have a custom layout. Let's say, for example, a plant whose floor layout is available. The way I created this, by the way, was to take a real plant and traced over it in PowerPoint, exactly like I showed you, and then saved it as an SVG. And the rest of it is a UI factory-like structure behind the scenes. And as you update the data, the text changes, the color changes, whatever else needs to change, changes. So it's pretty powerful if you have a physical layout, even within a room or a plant or a region. It doesn't have to be a physical flow either. It could be a virtual flow. So for example, this is an SVG where we have a document flowing from the draft stage to the submitted stage to the waiting for approval, planning, and so on. And we also have the flows between each one of these. The color is based on the number of documents in each stage, and the sorry, not the color. The size is based on the number of documents in each stage. So there are a lot of documents in progress. but very few that are pending. The color is based on how long the documents have been waiting. So documents have been waiting for a long time in progress. They've been waiting for even longer in completed. And same for the flows. You can take each of these flows, basically draw an arc from one to the other and control the thickness based on the number of documents that are flowing from one place to another and the color based on the speed at which they're flowing. So in this case, this is not a physical layout. This is a logical or a data layout. And this kind of a flow is also something that you can represent using an infographic kind of a structure and map it to data. When it comes to physical layouts, stores are a classic example where you could look at, for example, at a top level, what is the inventory level or what is the sales that's coming through in each of these regions, zoom in one level further, zoom back out to see what the performance is at a higher level. And it could also be supply chain flows where you could look at how the materials are moving from a vendor to a collection point, to a cargo hub, to a warehouse, a distribution center, and so on. These are examples of the ways in which a data-driven infographic could be used, or a data portrait kind of a layout could be used in real-life situations. What I want to do now is, we have 4 minutes. I'm going to throw this open for questions. Any questions or comments that you have, more than welcome. Please put them in the questions section. For those of you who have put in your pens, I will be looking at the pens right after this session along with you. You're welcome to stay on. So, question from Bhaskarjit. To create these kinds of visualizations, how can we create the SVG? The easiest way to create an SVG is to not create it, is to search, and somebody may have already created an SVG. So if I go to images.google.com and search for factory layout SVG, there's a pretty decent chance I'll find something that's actually an SVG that works. I mean, maybe something like this, or if that's too detailed, this looks like a good layout. That may give you, let's say, if you're lucky, 10% of the time you'll get it. But 50% of the time, I'll find a PNG, some image that I can trace, and I usually trace it in PowerPoint. So Bhaskarjit, not sure if you joined in a little late, but a quick summary of how I go about tracing it is, take any image and then draw on top of it. So draw a rectangle here, for example, and then you create any kind of shape like this. So what I've done here is literally traced over this image. And these are native shapes. So each one of these I drew as a line. Then you can take all of these, right click, save as picture, and PowerPoint, at least the recent versions, let you export as SVG. So that's the short answer to how do you create the SVG. Next question from Rishabh. How is click and hover interaction added? That is vanilla JavaScript, Rishabh, meaning the library itself is agnostic to it. You can add the usual interactions on hover. What I mean by that is add a listener for mouse over, for example, and change the attribute based on that. We are working on interaction libraries for this, but nowhere near there yet in terms of making it something that's just configuration based. Hopefully we'll get there sometime in the coming quarter. Question from Bhuvan. Are all the examples using the UI Factory library? No, Bhuvan, they are not. These are examples that are going to be migrated to UI Factory. Some of the examples that I showed you are a decade old, and we used earlier versions of the technology that we're now consolidating into UI Factory. Basically, that was at a time when we were writing code directly rather than creating functionality for non-developers to be able to write it. We are increasingly going towards a low-code environment where people don't really have to write so much code or write no code at all. And UI Factory is a step towards that. All of these examples are examples where UI Factory is useful, but not all of them are where UI Factory was actually being used. Question from Omkar. Are we stuck with HTML for logic, or can we use Python? If you're using Python, Omkar, then your best option is to generate the data from Python as a JSON object, and then consume it using fetch or an AJAX request, and then serve it. So no, you're not stuck with HTML for logic. Quite the opposite. You can certainly generate it through Python and render it as JavaScript. Got your comment, Ratul. Thanks. And I see a pen as well. We'll take up the pens in a few minutes. Question from Ratul: how have you created the arcs for the data process flow, and have you used extra.js for hover interactions? Yes, we have used extra JavaScript for the hover interactions. As for the arcs that were created, fairly straightforward. Draw a path like this, and then make it really, really thick. And of course, it can be even thicker than this. So the stroke width is a function of the data. And here the radius is a function of the data. That's all there was to it. Dushyan's question is how to represent live data that changes every second. Not that hard, actually. So let me show you how we could do that. I'm going to add a piece of JavaScript. Let me add that in the script section itself. But the short answer is simply set timeout or set interval or request animation frame. And I'm going to do it the simple way by saying, let's do that here. We will be formally wrapping up this session in exactly 2 minutes. I'll just answer this question. And of course, anyone who wants to stay on for any interactions or questions is welcome to. But here's what I'm going to do. Set, okay, let's see. I'm going to say let ours is equal to 1 and set interval. I'll run a function. And what this will run every 100 milliseconds. What it will do is take the query selector of the SVG chart and update the data with, let's say, the phone as, let's keep it as iPhone, and the hours as the total number of hours, which we will increment by, let's say, 0.05, and run this every whatever, however many seconds. Clearly something went wrong. Into a function. I forgot the open bracket here. Okay. So that isn't doing anything. Semicolons, is it? No, I actually don't like semicolons. And it should be possible for me to do this without semicolons. Is it even running? Okay, it's certainly running. It is updating the hours. And I am setting the data attribute. And this should have steadily. There is only one SVG chart here, so it's got the right element. And update with data, which is phone colon something and hours colon something. BC. Well, this is the trouble of live demos on a library that you just finished this afternoon. But this is how we got it to work. And once I finish debugging, hopefully it really will work. But with that, we are going to formally wrap up. And I would invite you to try this out. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to pretty much anyone in Grammarr or raise an issue on GitHub. The library UI Factory is available on NPM, so you can just search for UI Factory and be able to figure out the details. So with that, I'm formally declaring this webinar closed. Thank you for joining in. For those of you who would like to get some debugging done on your pens, please feel free to stay on. Thank you. I'm going to go through the pens now. Neil, I see your pen. Let me, okay, one of those things where, I can't even copy the pen. Sanish, is there any way I can copy a question? Okay, let me just type this out.
I'm not too sure.
You'll have to say that again, Sanish.
I'm not too sure how to copy question.
Yeah, so this is one of those things, right? The audience can't type in the chat window, and I'm having trouble copying. But okay, let's see. This works. So if I put this in as iPhone, it works. Okay, so Neil would love to hear if you had any other problem on that, but it does seem to be working just fine. I'll put in the hours as 2 or okay, 25, and yeah, that works too. We have Shambhu. Okay, what I'm going to do is go from the bottom in case some of you have dropped off. Okay, got you, Neil. It's working fine. So Ratul, I'll take your pen. And if anyone else wants their pens checked, I just want to make sure that you're still on and haven't dropped off. So in which case I'll be going from the bottom. So please put in your pen again. Ratul 12/pen/ DYVRYJY. Yeah, leave aside. Okay, this as iPhone. Give it a few seconds. That seems to be working. Ours, let's say 2.5. That seems to be working. So got it. Followed along. Okay, got you, Ratul. Fine, fair enough. Got it. You don't have an issue. Understood. Let me take Akash's pen. Akash, your ID is Akash Barla 5/pen/YLMWLJX. And let's see. So in your case, the rule you're saying is if the phone is Windows, then it's blue. Otherwise, it's in black. Cool. So if I change this to Windows, that should be in blue. Cool. That seems to be working just fine. And the number of hours, if I change that to 2.5, that seems to be working just fine to Akash. Let me know if there's any issue that you're facing, Akash, but this seems to be working absolutely fine. Kanwal also mentioned that there's no issue. Somebody's unmuted.
I haven't figured out a way to copy the question. If you want, I can actually tell you now.
Please do.
Just select the question. It opens up below the text
Yes.
face.
Yes. That's a good
Then
one.
you can
Thanks.
yeah.
Got it. Okay, Shambhu, ours did not change. Ours are days change. So let me copy that. And at the end. Let's see what went wrong here. Ooh, that's a nice big image. And I guess that's function of the background that you put in here. Great. So you're right. If you change the number of hours, it doesn't seem to be changing. Let's see if there's an error saying cannot read property style from undefined. Okay, that's a function of this. I'm just going to comment this out for now, not that it makes a difference. Let's take a look at what exactly is happening here. So you are using the same SVG that we're all using. And this one has a dot .rs, which has a width there. So if we set, oh, okay, there's a comma missing here. So after the phone name, there's a comma missing, and now it's starting to work. The contents are pure JavaScript. So if there's a JavaScript syntax error, then you'll have a problem. But otherwise, it's working, Shambhu. But yeah, it was almost there. Anyone else that I missed out? Omkar is left, so skip that. Akash, Shambhu. Yeah, okay. I think we've covered all the pens that have been put in here. And I'll just see if there are any questions that I had missed. Dushyant's was the last question. How do we represent, how do we change data every second? Okay, question from Ratul. How do we generate the classes? Unfortunately, Ratul, manually. So what's worse is that PowerPoint doesn't even let you retain the classes. So if you want to import the SVG, edit it and save it back, it kills the classes. Haven't figured out a way around it. So we are searching for good SVG editors as an alternative. So the workflow that I'm using at the moment is create it in PowerPoint, save it as SVG, and then edit it in SVG and keep it there. If I later on want to add stuff, then I create it again in PowerPoint and insert, copy paste it. If I want to delete stuff, that's not a problem. If I want to modify stuff, I just treat it as a deletion and a creation. Get rid of that element, create it again in PowerPoint, export just that portion, and then add the class. Painful. And hopefully PowerPoint will solve that issue soon. If not, well, Inkscape, Illustrator, one of those. That apart, I don't know if there are any questions. Okay, question from Dushyant. What's my mail ID? The easiest way is just to search for S Anand Gramner, and somewhere you'll find my email ID. But there are two IDs that I use. You somewhere hopefully find my website as well, and that has all my contact details. That includes my mobile number, which is out here, and email ID. So give those a shot. And I think that covers everything. So great, wonderful. Thanks for those who stuck around to watch what issues others were facing. And I'm glad that most of you seem to have enjoyed it. All the best. Give it a try. Let me know what problems you face. And if it works, then even better, share with me what you found. I'd love to see it. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. We're at the end of the session.